This week on Cruisin', it's classic cars and body art.
My brother-in-law's brother-in-law had Nomads, and all his friends had Nomads, and when I started seeing them, I wanted one.
Keeping up with the brother-in-laws. Well done.
Pour and rain, didn't matter. It's been in the rain hundreds of times, you know.
Come on now, it's just a little rain.
I prayed a lot beforehand because I was not sure how it was going to go. I was scared because I've never done this before.
Religion and restoration? Now that's a winning combo.
It was raining out and it stopped running on the way home, overheated, and it was just a mess.
Well, it's certainly not a mess now. In fact, it's just the opposite. Plus,
and what happens with classic cars when they're involved in a collision.
Are you ready for Cruisin'?
I'm a little crazy.
Well, so are we. Cruisin' starts right now. Welcome to another edition of Cruisin'. This week we're at the Cavalcade of Cars in Hamburg, New York, where they literally have a cavalcade of cars. Let's check some of them out, shall we? Why the 55?
It's always been a car that I enjoyed seeing and always wanted. And I bought it years ago and I still have it.
Years ago? No, so this has been a labor of love.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
How long did it take you to actually put this together to where you could say it's done?
I probably worked on it about 6 to 8 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Total time, or just you had it done in 6 to 8 months?
No, total time.
Total time.
Yeah.
How long of a span of time before?
Probably a year. We went like around the country and we gathered parts and then we assembled it.
So you did have to go out searching for the parts.
Well, yeah. There was traveling involved. We went to Pomona, California, and places like that.
So across the country.
Yeah, and then we drove it back out there after it was done. So.
Now, what condition was it when you got it?
Wasn't bad. It was an Oklahoma car originally, and it was in pretty decent shape.
Was all the glass intact for this?
All this glass in this car is still original.
Wow, that's
So,
incredible.
yeah.
That's actually very lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the trim on the car is all original. So it was just, like I said, it was in pretty decent shape when I got it. So.
What about the interior?
The interior was all new. It's a lot of the structure was all there, but the material's all new, except for the trim. The stainless steel trim inside the car, and it was all original. So it was all with the car when I got it.
Now, was this a project that your wife worked with you on, or she
Yes.
just left you to do?
Yep. Yeah, it was like a family thing. My kids even helped, yeah.
Oh, your kids even helped?
Yeah.
Now, are they into cars like you are?
No. No, they're into technology like most kids today.
So let me ask you this. What do you like more, the car or your
Oh,
wife?
you got to ask that one, don't you? They're tied.
They're tied.
Yeah.
I still don't think that was the right answer.
No, it's not.
What was it that when you said, I want that? What was it?
Well, the neighborhood I grew up in, all our, I shouldn't say in-laws, but my brother-in-law's brother-in-law had Nomads, and all his friends had Nomads, and when I started seeing them, I wanted one. So when I got enough money in my pocket, I went out looking for one, and this was it.
So it was a childhood dream?
Yeah.
Fulfilled?
Yep, fulfilled.
All right. So Ron, tell us what we have here.
1922 Model T Street Rod C-Cab.
Now, are you the original owner?
Yes, it's totally homemade. Made completely myself, I made it. Bought a few things off of it, like the axle and stuff like that, but it's totally made. It's all wood and fiberglass.
Now, how long have you been working on this project?
It was made 30 years ago, but it took me probably 10, 12 years because the kids were growing up, you know, and they needed shoes, needed whatever for school and stuff like that. I just didn't have the money to do it. We did it. It was a hobby.
Yeah. Okay, what's left that's original?
Running boards, that's original. That's a reproduction, that hood ornament thing, that's a reproduction. These coil box here, that was where they kept the coils for a 4-cylinder car. They had each one had a coil.
Yeah.
Made everything on it actually. Welded the frame up, rear end, all the spring, everything, that stuff.
What was your happiest memory in this?
Oh God, taking my daughter on her wedding. I took the doors off the back And they sat in the back. There was a seat in the back. I don't have that open, but there's a seat in the back, like a bench seat. And they sat in the back. We had a little stool that had all decorated, and they sat in the back, but I had no doors on it. Took the doors off. Never thought about the exhaust. Well, that kept coming up in the car, so I had to put pipes coming out the side. Otherwise, they'd have been dead by the time I got through the way. But yeah, that's one of the best parts, you know.
Oh my good, that's a wonderful memory.
Just about 3 months ago, I took my grandson for the prom. I went down there and it was like a limousine. I took him to their prom.
Oh, he was king of the prom that night.
Pour and rain. Didn't matter. It's been in the rain hundreds of times, you know.
Okay, now the question that's on everybody's mind. What do you deliver?
Good luck.
Good luck. I couldn't ask for a better answer than that. Good luck.
I don't know. Really haven't delivered anything, but.
And then how'd you come up with the name Low Budget Delivery?
I don't know, just in my head, I guess.
And what's with the little mouse trying to escape?
Low budget because I was on a low budget thing when I made it. Actually, I don't have a lot of money in it.
Now, what's with the mouse? Does the mouse have a name?
No.
Doesn't the mouse need a name?
No, it don't have a name, no.
Well, you don't see very many sea cats.
No.
I mean, this is like the first one I've seen.
Yeah. You see them, but they're aftermarket, little tiny ones. Yeah.
No, this is beautiful. I love this.
This is
great
full size, but the original didn't have the double seat. I put so you could see. Other ones, they just had one seat and it's way over here. You couldn't look by it.
Now, what do you do in the rain?
Well, I got curtains, but you still get wet.
You need wipers on the inside.
It comes over the windshield. It comes through little openings where it snaps on. It's cold. We drove it here. We didn't carry it. It's never been on a trailer. Never. It's always been driven.
Here we have a whole nother room of cars at the Cavalcade of Cars in Hamburg, New York. We're going to be back to check these out in just a minute on Cruisin'. Closed captioning provided by Blue Line Classics, home of the original Sanford & Son TV truck. Conveniently located in North Royalton, Ohio, we specialize in buying and selling antique, classic, and muscle cars and trucks. If you're interested in selling your classic car or looking to purchase a new classic, call us today. Welcome back to Hamburg, New York for the Cavalcade of Cars on Cruisin'.
This is a 1955 Dodge Sierra station wagon. They only made 5,000 of these.
How did you end up with this?
I've always wanted a station wagon, and a few years back, I just got lucky, and I found it on Craigslist in Ohio. And it was actually not an active ad anymore, so I thought it was sold. I called the guy, and he still had it. So that same day, I drove to Ohio, and I picked her up immediately.
Now, did you always want the Sierra or just a station wagon?
I wanted a Dodge station wagon. I didn't know about the Sierras because they're so rare. I never knew about them. So before I went on the way there, I Googled it and I realized how rare it was. So that's why I went there immediately.
Okay, now the paint job.
Yes.
Why?
I'm a little crazy and I was in bed one night and I knew I wanted something with texture. And I could not think of anything else. And it just hit me. I'm like, lace. I love lace. I wear lace. I think lace would work. So I got out of bed. I went out to the garage. I took a piece of lace and I sprayed it on a part of the panel that I didn't have painted yet. And I loved it. And I knew I absolutely had to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you've worked on this project while raising two children.
Yes.
And being a wife, of course, a homemaker as well. Did the family get involved in the project?
Yeah, they had to. They didn't really have a choice. Especially my little ones. They're little, so you can't leave them in the house alone. So they had to come out to the garage and I just give them a screwdriver or something. And when the interior was torn apart, I just let them unscrew things or just act like they were doing something. But I make sure my boys understand that this is part of the family and this is what we do, and they love it.
Now, were you raised in a family that did stuff like this?
Yes. Yep. But not many of the women got involved, and I don't know, I loved it, so I said I have to have my own.
Now you mentioned how you came up with the idea for the paint job. How did you actually apply it to the entire hood and roof of the car? How did you get that done?
I prayed a lot beforehand because I was not sure how it was gonna go. I was scared because I've never done this before, but I just took a piece of lace that I had because I have a sewing room. I sprayed some spray adhesive on it, but it's a movable adhesive, so you can pick it up and move it as many times as you want. So I sprayed it and I just laid it over and I just did a light spray. I would let it set for like 5-10 minutes. I'd sprayed it one more time, and then right before it got tacky, I hurry up and I just peeled it off as quickly as possible.
So you just use one small piece of lace to do all that?
Yes. I reuse the same piece over and over.
That is incredible.
Yeah. I like
Did it turn out like you expected?
Sort of. In my mind, I thought it would be like a little bit better because you know, when you do something yourself, you want it to be perfect. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. And it only took me one try, so I gave myself a break on that.
Now the color, yellow. Was this the stock color or did you want?
It was, and I didn't feel comfortable leaving stock. I just felt like I still want to stay in the realm that she was in. I just did not feel comfortable changing it. I think of Betty and I think yellow. We had to stay yellow.
So Betty is now a member of the family?
Yes, Betty is the only daughter I'm ever gonna have. So this is my girl.
Would you say she's your favorite child?
This is my favorite child, yeah, it is. She's my most expensive too, but I love her. It's the only girl I have, yeah, yeah.
The interior, you've got like the picnic basket theme going on in there.
Yes, I bought it at an antique show. I wanted to do it because my grandmother, who was part of a motorcycle club and a car club, she used to have a basket just like that. And I knew I wanted to theme it something around my grandmother because she was into cars too for being a woman. So I bought the basket and then I thought, what goes good with that? Wicker. So I'm like, plaid, I need plaid, I want plaid. So I made sure when I sewed the interior that I got a schoolgirl plaid to match it because when you think of 1955, plaid was the thing. So I went with the plaid and the wicker, but the basket's nice because we take Betty everywhere. And when we go to a car show, we open up the picnic basket, we have all our food in there, we keep our drinks in there, we have blankets in there. So you really feel like you're back in the day because who does that? Nobody does that anymore.
True. Now, final question. Your husband, does he have to ask permission to drive Betty?
He has never driven Betty. He has never driven Betty. Nobody drives Betty except for me.
Oh.
Betty is for me. And I even made sure that I made her extra girly so that he wouldn't want to drive her. But she's so loud and people always stare because it's so rare. He would still drive it if I let him, but it is not happening. Betty is all mine. Nope, not happening.
Up next,
your insurance adjuster comes out to you, look at the car, and they try to steer you to a collision shop.
the Buckeye guys have tips when the unthinkable happens.
Welcome to this week's edition of Cruising with the Buckeye Guys. Today, we're going to talk about classic car auto insurance and what happens with classic cars when they're involved in a collision. It's very frustrating for the customers and users. Where do you turn to? Where do you go? Well, what happens is your insurance adjuster comes out to you, look at the car, and they try to steer you to a collision shop. Well, a collision shop does not specialize in classic car restoration work. These classic cars have a lot of issues that professionals need to resolve so your classic car gets back on the road in a timely manner. Debbie, I'm going to refer to you. When classic car insurance comes in for wrecks, what usually happens with them? You know, how frustrated are customers? They don't know what to do.
They feel like they're not going to get paid or get the money that they're going to or owed to fix the car.
And what happens with the cars is their stated value on classic auto insurance. So what happens is, say your car is appraised at $50,000. Well, the owner only has it insured for $25,000, and there's $20,000 worth of damage to it. There's some big-time issues that the customer has to face because the insurance company is going to crush the car, salvage it because the stated value wasn't high enough on the insurance coverage. But we work with customers on that. We make sure their car is properly done, and the big issue is doing the estimate, right? Because in classic car work, an estimate is nearly impossible. Estimates for classic insurance work takes a long time. And when it comes to doing classic car insurance, we have a '69 Mach 1 in here right now. And how hard as difficult as that has been, That was over $30,000 damage to a car that the insurance company, it took about 2 months to get that project approved by the insurance company with all the estimates and redos of taking the car apart on how bad that car was. It's very, very difficult, and it's to get the proper paint work that was done on the car originally, if you have graphics, if you have specialized parts that you can't get at the normal auto parts store, it takes time. And Debbie here does a lot of research trying to find us the parts to get these cars back on the road. And sometimes you can't find them. And then you gotta go get them remanufactured, get them custom made. And it's hard to get the insurance company to understand that. And they send the adjuster back out. We work with the adjuster, and then they go back to the insurance company again for some extra money to get those parts back on the road, those cars back on the road. But you know, it's a time-consuming process. We like to get the customer happy and on the road. It's
not just in and out in a 2 days or 3 week process. It can take months to have your restoration completely done.
Here at Buckeye Classic Car Restoration, we can work with your insurance company to get your classic car back to concours or driving condition. Please give us a call at 330-533-4757.
Coming up.
This is actually a car that I drove to senior year of high school.
Of course it was. And it's next on Cruisin'. Now back to the cavalcade of cars in Hamburg, New York on Cruisin'.
This is my 1984 Volkswagen Rabbit Gti. It's an LS powered car.
Now, why the 1984 Volkswagen Rabbit? Is this something from your childhood?
This is actually a car that I drove to senior year of high school, and I always really liked the Mark I's. And this was a car that I had planned to restore, but it ended up being real rusty and had a lot of electrical issues. And I decided that I wanted a car with a big motor. It's a little car with a big motor. So this is what I chose.
You mentioned the power. What do you mean by that?
This car has about 550 horse roughly. They're about 80 horse from the factory.
Yeah, I recall that. I used to have one. I had the pickup truck. Now, is this the actual one you drove to high school in?
Yes, it is. The body itself is, I should say.
Tell us a little bit about what you did to restore this car. What did you have to do to it?
Well, the first step was I brought it home from the chicken house I had it sitting in, and I started with a Sawzall and I chopped the whole bottom of the original Rabbit out. I built a full box tube chassis for the car.
Now the interior, I noticed like on the dash, no instruments whatsoever, just a nice clean dash. What did you do there?
Well, I wanted to have the interior nice and clean looking, and I still wanted to have some of the plaid that all the GTIs and GLIs were known for having, with the red stitching. So I decided I would keep the gauge cluster off the dash, and I mounted that from the roll cage.
Now, when you got the car, did you originally go, I want a Volkswagen, or is this like your parents said, here's your car?
I actually brought this home. This was a car that I picked up on Craigslist. I got about 5 miles down the road and the hood blew open. And it was raining out and it stopped running on the way home, overheated, and it was just a mess. So, he's not as mad now that I bought it.
Now, what's under the hood?
It's a LS-based motor. It's 370 cubic inch. Can
you give us a look?
It's LS3 top end.
I'll go ahead and let that. Doesn't even need a stick.
Nope.
You doesn't even need a stick.
Nope.
Nice.
I have custom hinges that I built for it and gas struts that are hidden down in the wheel well.
How did you get that in there?
Well, after I cut the whole bottom of the car out in the engine bay, I ended up with a lot of extra space. So it was actually a pretty nice fit.
Now, when you went with the Chevy engine, what made you go, oh, I know, I'm gonna put a V8 inside this tin can?
Well, basically I wanted a little car with a real big engine with way too much horsepower, and the LS motors are becoming very popular now. So it was just a good choice, and it was something that I could afford to put together.
Now the big question, is she street legal?
Yes, it is.
How many tickets?
None yet.
None yet. I love the optimism. None yet. Meaning that there's one hanging out there with your name on it.
Yeah.
How fast?
Sure.
In the quarter?
I haven't had it on the road long enough to take it to a track. I actually just debuted it at 2017 SEMA show. I was in the Battle of the Builders competition with it.
Now, how long from start to finish?
Roughly 4 years.
4 years, okay, so there's a labor of love in this. You're not getting rid of this anytime soon.
No, I actually started this car in my garage. I built the box tube chassis at home for it, and then I actually met my boss, Mike Heim, the owner of Quality Custom Rides, at another car show, and he allowed me to bring the car into the shop. He actually encouraged me to bring the car into the shop. He wanted to see me finish it off and stuff, so.
Nice. What is it with, I know for me, water pumpers was what I always drove, but what for you was a Volkswagen fascination?
Well, a lot of my local friends and stuff, they were all playing around with Volkswagens. My brother started off playing around with Volkswagens, and I just kind of ended up getting into them too, just from being around them all the time and stuff.
Well, thank you very much, Connor. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Beautiful vehicle. Beautiful.
Thank you.
A lot of love went into this thing. I noticed the color's close to the GTI stock color.
Yep, it's actually the original royal red color. That was the factory color for this car, and it actually has the rally stripe back on it too.
Nice. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Well, that's all the time we have this week for cruising here at the Cavalcade of Cars in Hamburg, New York. A great show put on by a great man, Andy Sackett. Now, if you didn't make it out, you missed seeing a beauty like this 1929 Ford. But that's okay. There are other shows. Get out, get to a show. We'll see you next time. I'm Johnny Lee Dam.